Hey, welcome to the Halos in the Infield flagship podcast with your hosts, Todd Fox, Fernando Mendez, and Courtney from Riverside. Hey, welcome into another episode of Halos in the Infield. I'm your host, Todd Fox. We got a special show for you today as we're going to break down part one of the first half of the season. Part two will be coming on Sunday. And before we get into that real quick, 714 tickets. If you haven't heard, you don't know, HITI in the promo code as you exit and make that set purchase. The price you see is the price you get. 10% off, though, with the Halos in the Infield code will get you multiple dollars off of any of your purchases, whether it's one ticket or up to as many as you want. And if you're paying in this economy for a family deal, it really pays off. So don't forget to put the HITI, H-I-T-I, in the apply now code before you check out. 714 tickets. And then also Noble L Works, which is right across the street from Anaheim Stadium. If you are going to an Angel game, you can park there for free. You can mention HITI or just Halos in the Infield, get $1 off pints if you're going to watch the game there. It's 2 for $9 specials if you mention Halos in the Infield. And after the 7th inning, it's buy one, get your friend one for free. So there you go. They have many good beers and seltzers on tap. So with that, all the business out of the way, let's get started, shall we? Right, Fernando? And introduce the rest of the panel.
Yeah, I'll say this, Todd. Thank you for opening up the show. Second of all, you fumbled most of those sponsors like a third string running back trying to break the practice squad.
I get paid like one, so there you go.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, this is Fernando, the Lone Star Halo, joined here by James, pregame James. James, how you doing?
I'm good. I am here for the memories.
There you go. Thanks for the memories. We've got the other member of the flagship show, Courtney. Courtney, this is the first time that you, Todd, and I have been on since you officially graduated.
I know. I miss Todd, but he has to have a family and work and stuff. So it's
what
fine.
A dirtbag.
Jesus, Todd. I know. But hi, you pieces of trash. It is Courtney. Always nice to be on the panel, and the trio, as well as others, is here. So we love to see it.
Speaking of love to see it, we have Rob joining us. Rob, it's been a minute, my friend. How you doing?
Good. I'm glad someone's happy to see Todd.
Yeah, right. That's fair. That's fair. I think a lot of people are happy to see Todd.
Oh, everyone is.
Not my exes.
Yes, and maybe on a bad day, your fiance as well. Maybe she's like, "Oh, Todd's pissing me off today." She's entitled to that.
True.
So we're here today to talk a little bit about the first half of the season. We're going to be doing a two-parter later on with Dominic Lorenz of Catella Chronicles. But first, let's talk about the part of the season where things were going well. We had a lot of hope. The team was firing in all cylinders throughout stretches of this. And let's take it back to opening day. Now, looking at the roster back then, we had a lot of hopes, right? We had Logan O'Hoppe, who we had high hopes for, came out of the gate super, super, super hot, right? You had the Angels win the first, the first couple series in a row? No. We won the first 2 series, and then we came home and lost the first home series to Toronto. What do you guys remember about the way you guys felt like opening day? Like, okay, I'm sure we don't remember everything because it feels like such a long time ago. So I will say this. What is the number one thing you were most excited about going into the 2023 season? If you can dive into that. We'll start off with Todd and then go to Courtney, then go to James, and then go to Rob.
Just game one for me was very frustrating because I thought with the lineup we put out, the runs they were scoring in spring training, and we lose a spectacularly pitched game by Shohei Ohtani right off the start. And the number one thing we didn't want as a network was to hear, hey, Shohei Ohtani pitches good and they lose. And that was opening freaking day, and they only scored 1 run and they lost that one 2-1. And you were thinking, here we go again. We suffered through this all last season. I wanted to see an offensive explosion. So that was my thing out the gate. There's a couple of what other series did you mention right now? Just refresh my memory right now. You said Oakland and
it was Oakland, Seattle to start the year.
Yeah, I thought they played better in Seattle. But yeah, that Shohei one really stuck out for me.
But the question was, what was the number one thing you were the most excited about going
Oh,
into the
sorry,
season?
sorry.
Like, no, you're fine. If you had to,
Long day.
no, you're good.
I was mostly excited for the offense. I felt, the bullpen, obviously looks way different now, but at the time, again, spring training they looked good. End of last season they looked good. I was excited because I thought Phil Nevin deserved another chance at the time because he seemed to coach a lot more differently than Madden, at least down the stretch the last 2 months. He kept some things that Madden did, but for the most part, he seemed to be on par with what we wanted. And it was all fool's gold that time, but I was very much excited for the offense, and I thought we were going to be scoring a lot more runs.
Courtney?
I was excited for our starting rotation. I was really excited for our pitching rotation. I actually had the pleasure of seeing Sandoval pitch in the World Baseball Classic while they were in Phoenix. That was fun. I like the passion. I like the fire that he brought. Obviously now he hasn't been the greatest, and I feel like I have a bad curse with that because if we remember, first year I was on the network, I was excited for Lord Bundy, and he shit the bed and he threw up in New York. So there was that.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, literally blue chunks. But that was my most exciting and hopeful thing for the 2023 season. Our starting rotation. As well as the lineup, again, on paper, I feel like we had a really good offensive lineup. One with run support, that way we wouldn't be losing close games like in 2-1 like opening day. So I think those are the two things that I was most excited about. I wanted to see some dingers, and I was excited about our starting rotation.
I do have a question. You said, because most of the ladies like Patrick Sandwalker. He's a handsome man.
Yeah.
But did you think that Dylan Bundy was a handsome man, or did you just like him as a pitcher?
I liked him as a pitcher, but
Okay, fair enough.
Sandoval, on the other hand, Nick better watch out. Just saying.
That's fair. Hey, Sandoval's a handsome man. I took care enough about myself to say that. All right, James. What about you? What were you most excited about going into opening day this year?
Well, yeah, Todd and Courtney took both of my answers, but because
Because you're
I was
not
looking
original,
forward to
James.
absolutely not. Yeah, I was looking forward to the offense and just better hitting, especially with runners in scoring position. And then with the rotation coming off, the WBC with Otani and Sandoval being dynamite, and then Reed Detmers finishing the year well last year. You throw in Tyler Anderson, and he was kind of a mixed bag in the spring. So I was looking forward to see all of them, and then how this bullpen would come together. Of course, all that has fallen off, but I can say one thing: I was kind of looking forward to Phil Nevin and how he would be with the controls in his first full season. That has gone awry too, but I was looking forward to him because it seemed like the Angels finished last year off well with him after a while at the end, I should say. So I thought, hey, maybe he'll have control of the locker room, the players. He'll have that philosophy, so to speak, and keep players accountable, and players will respect him and will play for him. So I was kind of looking forward to Phil Nevin and how he would have things going, and then Marcus Thames, if Matt Wise would be any wiser. So those were a couple of things. And then how this team would come out of the gate with 2 divisional series. Right away, hey, take care of business. Like I mentioned with the new schedule this year, there's less divisional games. So take care of those right away. And they sort of did, only losing, 2 out of the first series right there, or 2 games out of the 2 series.
Rob?
Yeah, I was pretty much excited about Phil Nevin, right, coming in. He's the elephant in the room now, no pun intended with the Cal State Fullerton, but looking at him is going back to Seattle from last year when he hit Winker and everything. That was something that we were missing, right? The little edge, the old school baseball mentality. I thought he was going to bring back here and going to push us up over the top because we're missing something, that it factor on the coaching staff, right? And I thought it was going to be him and Thames coming in. I wasn't so much excited player wise. Renfro probably the only one. I'm pretty much against the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if you guys knew that, or I kind of made a voice. I don't like guys missing spring training, missing getting their work in to go to World Baseball Classic like a David Fletcher. Were you really going to win the World Baseball Classic with Team Italy? No. Get out of here, dude. You needed a lot of work. You had a bad year last year. You needed to get some reps at spring training. You weren't getting the reps at the World Baseball Classic. And obviously, we saw in the first couple games of the season, right? It reflected that. That guy struggled right away, right out the gate. And he needed that work in spring training, I thought. And then even Patrick Sandoval, very handsome guy, Courtney. He is a very handsome guy. But I was really worried about him the most because I look at him like a Kershaw, right? He had lower back issues, and Kershaw has always dealt with that injury ever since he's had it. And I was worried about, God, not Patty. I think he's going to be our ace. I think that guy's legit. He's going to be the next guy if Shohei were to leave or something were to happen like that, he could be our guy. And I was hoping spring training he'd be able to refine a lot of stuff because we look back at it. It was exciting because we were top 10 team in pitching last year. We were the only team in the top 10 that was of pitching that wasn't in playoffs last year. So looking at that, I was like, God, we need a new hitting coach. Everyone knew that, right? We got Thames. It was exciting. We needed a little help behind Ohtani and Trout. We got Renfro, and then Rendon was supposed to be healthy, but that's another thing. But we're looking forward through all that, right? Looking at it, I was pretty psyched for the season. Then it's a shot kicked straight to the nuts, right? Lose 2-1. Well, first thing you hear, Ohtani's getting traded. He's leaving last year. And then you hear that every single game for those first 45 games. Anytime we did something wrong, that's all you heard.
Yeah, I know for me, the thing that I was the most looking forward to was the fact that on paper, this team finally had a lot of depth. And I'm surprised nobody really alluded to that because that was the thing. For years, it was just like, Rendon gets hurt. Well, bring up Captain Jack Mayfield. Let's get Jonathan VR. It was just these stopgap guys who were just below, just not even like AA tier guys. So, we had Gio Urshela, we had Brandon Drury, like we had pieces, Luis Rengifo. We were talking about this giant log jam. Now, and I don't want to get too far ahead because we're only talking about the first 45 games. But now we're talking about, where's all that depth now? A lot of these guys are hurt for either substantial periods of time or could be out for substantial periods of time. But for once, I was excited about the depth of this team, even with the bullpen. There's a lot of these guys who we were having some log jams there, right? Like, we have Ryan Tepera. Maybe he's going to turn it around. He's getting paid to be a guy who could turn it around. Aaron Luke, we were hoping he was going to somehow turn into that New York Mets Aaron Luke, even though he wasn't last year as an Angel. But, that depth shrunk really quickly. But, that's what I was most excited about. So we started off with 2 straight series wins in Oakland and Seattle, we've already mentioned. We came home, lost the series against Toronto, won the series against the Nationals, and then we hit the road to go to Boston and New York, where the Angels got swept by the Red Sox. Sorry, they won one game. They won the marathon game because they played that Monday game, right? That was the one that was Ohtani was supposed to pitch or whatever. He pitched like 20-something pitches and he got removed because of the rain. And then we went to New York, where I got to watch the Angels' only series win on that Monday, where we won 5-2. And Todd Boy's Jose Suarez was on the bump, which, by the way, for anybody who forgot, Todd picked Jose Suarez to be his guy this year. He was as positive as Charlie Sheen that Jose Suarez was going to have a good year.
Yeah, I thought he'd win here and there.
I'm by winning. I win here and I win there.
But not so much.
Yeah, and now he's on the Phantom 60-day IL?
Mm-hmm. He's not going to pitch again this year.
Well, I mean, I want to know, was there ever an injury? We were saying Phantom IL to start, but once you're starting to talk about like 60 days, are we still talking Phantom IL, do we think, or do you guys think he's actually hurt?
Well, I mean, the last I heard, he had some pretty good inflammation, so maybe it was something close to a Tommy John, and they want to be careful. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of, unless he's that bad to where they're like, all right, hit the you're going to be pitching some winter ball. We're going to work you out and change a few things. I don't know.
His feelings got hurt after getting raked.
Yeah, I don't. That's a tough situation.
Yeah.
I remember me and Todd were at that Sunday game against Toronto, and he gave up I don't know, 7 or 8 by the second or third inning or something like that. And all of a sudden he just left the game, and they were saying, oh, it's a left elbow injury, whatever it was. But I don't think any of us were thinking, oh, that's going to be the last start of his season. But maybe that he would be moved to the bullpen. But there's obviously something wrong with his confidence. I have a picture of Nevin slapping him in the dugout after his start against the Yankees in New York. It was like to wake him up or something. I forgot what it was, but that image in my head was like, I don't know. It's in my head about him, and he's almost like what Sandoval has come to be, foreshadowing, Patrick. But he just never had the confidence, and then when he didn't walk people, he gave up the home runs, and he's always been a problem. It seems like.
Yeah, that was a fun game to go to in New York.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely an interesting game. Yeah, I was there. He only pitched like 3.2 innings also. Gave up 3 runs. Do you guys think Jose Suarez has potential to break out of this, come next year, out of this funk?
No.
I'm definitely not going to pick him again.
No.
Well, that's how we know he's going to have a good
No.
year. Okay, so you guys think that, as the kids say, Jose Suarez is cooked?
Yes.
Okay.
Deep fried.
I really hope the kid can turn it around. I mean, the thing is, and we've talked about this ad nauseum really since this network started 3 years ago, is the fact that most of these teams who are continuously good build from within. So you need the guys like Jose Suarez to come up and do well. You need your Reed Detmers. You need your Patrick Sandoval. And really all 3 of those lefties that are just mentioned, and you can throw in Tyler Anderson, even though he's not a homegrown guy, these guys are all struggling mightily. So, before we continue to go in here, let me ask you guys about the starting pitching. Because most of you guys mentioned that's one of the strengths you guys were looking forward to going into opening day. So where are you guys currently on the starting pitching? Do you guys think this starting rotation has potential to, I don't want to start talking playoffs because, right now the Angels are a game under 500. But is this a starting rotation that can at least get the Angels in a competitive push to maybe flirt with some games that matter in September? Todd?
I've been saying it all year. I think they can. It all depended on if, Anderson was going to get his stuff together, and he did. He started pitching a lot better. He's actually been pitching a lot better than a couple of these guys, and I really don't blame what they did recently in Detmers and Sandoval starts, because I just feel that there's something there that we'll talk about in part 2. But for the most part, I think this rotation's been there, and they've had the opportunity to win a lot of games and have left either down a run, only giving up a couple runs, but we've seen the same flashes of brilliance from that offense. Injuries or not, there's no excuse for them not fundamentally scratching across the run, scoring some runs, and they've left a lot of guys on base. And I do think it is a team, if you compare it to the other teams that are in the postseason right now, especially with Ohtani still here, there's no reason why they shouldn't be trying to vie for a playoff spot. But to me, it comes down to the hitting, dude. I don't blame this pitching staff at all.
Hell no. I'm just kidding. I will say that I'm still concerned about our starting rotation. Just because I feel like we have an odd mix. We have an odd mix of young kids, Detmers, Sandoval even included. And even though Ohtani is still great, and I want to reiterate that Ohtani does not suck. nor have I ever said he sucks. But I do notice one thing that is different this year than last year. I feel like he is giving up a lot more home runs, not just hits, but home runs. Are they detrimental? No. And most of the time we still end up with a win. But I do think that it should be noted that Ohtani is giving up more home runs than he did last year. And he's actually thrown a lot more wild pitches this year. Thankfully, there hasn't been people on base. Normally, most of the time, he gets that out within the first 2 innings. So it's definitely not costly. I don't know if he's kind of still working on stuff. I don't know if he's trying to still create new pitches for himself, trying to deepen his arsenal, I guess, which is completely fine. I'm not against it. But I think I am just weary of our starting rotation. But I do agree with Todd. Our offense does not help support them whatsoever. So if we do get into closer games, I think our offense kind of has a lot more to do with some of our starting rotation wins and losses record. Like there's no reason why we should be losing to someone like, 2-1, like a 1-run game. Like, I don't think, or at the time with our lineup, that was unacceptable to me personally. But for the future, if we keep the starting rotation as it is, I'm just a bit weary. I will say that.
To piggyback on Courtney's point about Ohtani and his stats, he has 43 walks right now, and we've never really seen him walk too many. This is the first year that we've seen that. He's stricken out 132, but he has given up 43 walks and 14 home runs. That's like Nolan Ryan stats right there when you think about it. He leads the league in strikeouts. So just to mention that with Courtney's point about Ohtani, he definitely doesn't suck. He is the only one you can really trust in the rotation right now, and I don't think that's a odd thing to say or a hot take. Sandoval, we got screwed basically what we thought he was going to be from the WBC. Detmers is shaky. He does get his strikeouts. He has 107, but he's also walked 32. Sandoval 36. Tyler Anderson 37. Man, if there was a deal the Angels shouldn't have done, it was with him. He's been awful. Yeah. Griffin Canning's been maybe the only pleasant surprise up until his last start, last series we had. But and then looking at Suarez again, he gave up too many home runs and too many walks, just 6 between balls and strike ratio. So obviously about the rotation, I wouldn't bring many back. If there was a way, I'd get rid of almost all of them other from Ohtani, honestly. Maybe keep Canning on, but if there's a way to get better, maybe keep Detmers too. But is there a way to, I don't know. And I mentioned to these guys, I think at the tailgate, I mentioned to the guys on the podcast there, if Sandoval can go down like Suarez did, with the injury, and just
Sandoval still has options.
That's good. Okay, so if he could swallow his pride and realize he's not anything special, maybe it's an ego thing. I don't know what, but we see this frustration on the mound, especially in that White Sox series in the Thursday afternoon game, where he struggled with the walks and it was really bad. He didn't really have good communication with Matt Thaiss either. So if he maybe gets sent down or fakes an injury, gets some simulated games in, goes to Inland Empire and throws some innings there, maybe he'll get his groove back. But man, I'm not comfortable with this rotation. If there was a negative about it, I would, if there was a number to rank him 1 to 10, it's almost negative for me, but Ohtani's keeping it positive in that way. So there's a lot of things I would change about this rotation. And it starts with Sandoval and Anderson and Suarez, of course, you're not bringing back. Maybe in a long relief role. But Canning, Detmers, again, Canning's been the one surprise, and Ohtani's just been everything. His back has been hurting from carrying the rotation, other from Canning all season long so far.
All right, Rob.
I think the rotation can get us there, but I also believe a rotation is backed by the bullpen. So it depends who's helping that bullpen too, because you don't have to stretch guys out a little bit longer and force them to go out in that sixth, seventh inning and get shelled or walk a couple guys, put your team in a bad spot. I think you get Matt Moore back. You utilize Sam Bachman, get Joyce back there with Estevez where the pitching. I think this staff that we have now is what we need so far. And my gripe with the staff, and two pitchers in particular, and I'll probably take heat from this, is Ohtani and Anderson. How many pitchers called their own perfect game? How many pitchers called their own no-hitter? The history of baseball is going to say 0. There's 320 no-hitters in baseball. Why are you calling your own game in every single pitch? There's things that catcher sees. There's things that a coach can see. There's things with analytics so out there that, like it is today, that these guys can make adjustments, but you're calling your own pitch instead. How many times have you seen a guy shake their own catcher off and then give up a home run? It happens all the time, right? Mm-hmm. I don't like that fact that you call your own game. You need to be separate from that in itself, too. That's my biggest gripe. I was a pitcher. There's plenty of times I could blow this fastball by this guy, and all of a sudden it's going 400 feet over my head. The guy's jogging around the bases, right? There's certain things you got to swallow the ego and swallow the pride. Ohtani's not a bad player at all. I kind of almost question him as a teammate at this point in time, because every time he's been asked a question, what do you think? You getting traded? You getting this? I'm just trying to get good stats and help my team do better. No. Your answer should be, I'm trying to win the World Series with this team that I'm on. Period. That's what I would think, right? That's what I would hope for out of a superstar such as him. I'm tired of hearing about his stats and all this stuff. He never puts it all down. And then you have a guy like Tyler Anderson, who, man, you're a veteran at this point in time, right? Take these guys under your wing. You see Patrick Sandoval struggling. You see Jose Suarez struggling and all that stuff. Jose Suarez tipping his pitches, right? Ohtani saw it. Trout saw it. Osmus saw it year before. But where's that veteran leadership there saying, like, hey, dude, let me pull you aside. Come work with me. I hate to say it. Clayton Kershaw did it with Urias. Hey, kid, come work out with me. He grabbed these guys. We don't have that here in this pitching staff, right? There's no leadership in this pitching staff. Just like there's no leadership in the clubhouse, no leadership among the coaches. It's a shit show. Pardon my language, I'm sorry, but it is at this point in time. But this staff here has what it takes. You don't have to go out and pitch 6-7 innings each game. Just get us through 5. Mike Scioscia did it to Aaron Seeley. I don't know if you guys remember that in 03-04 where Aaron Seeley was really struggling. Even 5 innings. Prove to me you can pitch 5 innings, and then we may talk about getting you more innings down the line. And he pitched great in those 5 innings, but he had the bullpen to back it up. So the staff's there. I think it's there. You just got to manage your ego a little bit. For Sandoval, he's trying to do way too much. The Angels have burned him years in, year out, right? Guy goes and pitches a 2-1 game, loses. 1-0 game, loses. And now I think that's a guy trying to do too much at this point in time. You can tell he's overthrowing his pitches, overthrowing that curveball, trying to hump up that fastball.
Overcompensate, I think, is.
Yeah, he's trying to do too much as a pitcher on the mound. You should be able to put the ball in play, let contact happen. But then again, you have guys out of position, not your regular guys in there all the time, right? Fletcher was struggling at first. Everyone's head was somewhere else in this first half of the season when this is all going on. So I think we're there. I honestly do. We just need a little bit of refinement, fine-tuning in. And like you see in playoffs, is it always the ace that brings these guys in? No, it's that 4 and 5 guy who come out of nowhere. Hey, guy has a hot hand. That's all you need. You just need a hot hand to get you there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've mentioned multiple times is the whole Tyler Anderson calling pitches thing. The only reason why I think Ohtani can get away with calling his own pitches is because he has so many pitches that, you have such a short time now that for someone like him, I get it. You can't sit there and shake off 5 or 6 pitches like you used to do because of the pitch clock. Tyler Anderson, I mean, you're throwing like 3 or 4 pitches most of the time. But, it's frustrating too when Ohtani's throwing his sweeper, what is it, like 55% of the time, and he's getting hit hard when he throws that sweeper. Man, they're hitting it up and down. That's why he's giving up so many home runs. You look up the pitches he's giving the most home runs on, it's that sweeper. So, but I definitely understand where Rob's coming from, and I agree. Now, one of the things I did want to say, the month of April, we won 15 games, okay? And the thing that stands out to me is the losses. So some of these losses was like the first one that I see here is the 11-12 loss, which was that Sunday against the Toronto Blue Jays at home. I think Detmer started that game. And then we lost. Are you sure?
Yeah, because me and Todd were there.
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
says
the one where he
Detmers.
left his.
It says Detmers. 5 innings pitched, gave up 4 runs that day.
Oh, okay.
Was that a Saturday or Sunday game?
That was a Sunday game. We lost 11-12 in extra
Oh, I'm
innings.
sorry. I was thinking about the Texas series. Never mind.
Oh yeah.
James, it's fine.
So yeah, you're good, James. Yeah, so that game stands out. The following day, we lost 4-6 against the Nationals, and then fast forward to that Saturday in Boston, we lost 7-9. There are so many of these games that were close. The 19th of April, we lost 2-3. The 22nd, we lost 8-11 against the Kansas City Royals. All of these losses, Oakland, the 24th, 10-11. None of these losses, we were getting our cheeks clapped. It was the fact that it was the slow bleed, right? We'd get shot 10 times in the chest and bleed out. It was that. It was the bullpen. It was the offense not stepping up. It was the starting pitching struggling. And that was really what defined the first month of the season. It was inconsistent play because we had some games where we played really well. We had some games where the starting pitching stepped up. But a lot of the times we had these games where those were winnable games. We could have had a month of April where we only lost like 3 games. The only game we got blown out was 2-11, which was that game in Seattle, the second game of that series. Besides that, they were all close games, even the wins.
Yeah, they played toe to toe with their opponents. I just felt in a lot of those games, the bullpen was getting was getting their butts kicked a lot because obviously we had a way different bullpen back then. We were mix and matching Cajeda and Estevez in the bullpen or for saves or at least back and forth. We were starting to see that whole I can't pitch more than a day kind of bullshit. Then you saw the other teams that it was frustrating to me because at the time we were hitting home runs, 3-run homers and stuff like that, and we were getting guys on and actually scoring them. Whereas the other teams, like the Nationals game, I remember how we lost that one. They just beat the crap out of us with singles. The Royals did the same thing. The Blue Jays did the same thing. We thought they were going to mash us, but they were just hitting doubles, singles, and just doing the right, using the gaps, playing, hitting the other way. Other teams were stealing bases, and that was the first indication. I'm like, wait a minute, we're not using the fundamentals that I thought we were, and we're not taking advantage of the rule changes. I started to see that early on. I'm like, yeah, we're scoring runs, but we're giving up a lot of runs. We should be winning most of these games, and we're not. This may bite us in the ass later, and that's when I started to smell a polished turd right there.
Yeah, the Angels have always been notoriously bad during these extra inning rules.
Yeah.
You say it all the time. There's no bunting. Bunt the guy over. Give yourself at least an opportunity to score 1 run. Because if you got to run on third base with 1 out, I mean, almost anything's going to score him. A ground ball even is going to score him if the guy's fast enough. A pop-up. Give me something. But the Angels have had a real lack of productive hitting and clutch hitting. Because in that situation, a pop out to the outfield to score the run, that's clutch in that situation, right? You gave yourself the best opportunity. Yeah, do you want to put the ball over the fence? Yeah, great. Yeah, chicks dig the long ball. We love the machismo. Cool. But at the end of the day, your only job is to score that run in. Your only job is to get on base. That's productive. And the Angels have really, really struggled with that all year. And April was a giant red flag in that department, and it's continued to have been one this far into the season. Well, I don't have no idea what's happening to Courtney right now.
I know. It's that ghetto Wi-Fi I got. Hold on.
Ugh.
I think
May
Nick
I
is
mention one? I'm sorry. May I mention one thing about the pitching and then how it relates to the offense or vice versa, real quick?
Sure.
Todd always mentioned this in his post-game show, which everybody watches, no doubt. But he seems it always happens, it seems like almost every game. When the Angels score runs, whomever is pitching, unless it's Estevez, they give it right back.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Angels can score 3 and then give up 2 or 3 or 4 the next half inning. And that's the thing. That's the thing that just kept going on and on through the months here, and for years it seems like it's just when you guys were talking about that right now, I couldn't get that out of my head. And how many times Todd has mentioned or yelled that in his rants in the post game shows.
Yeah, the bullpen hasn't been able to, lock it down after.
Especially Anderson, though. Whenever he would get some run support, he'd get right back.
Absolutely. What were you saying, Courtney?
First of all, you guys took my turn. Secondly, I'm just kidding. I think those games, the few that we mentioned, the loss to the Nationals, the loss to KC. I think one of the biggest things, and I know we've talked about it multiple times, we always play down to weaker opponents. And I think that was one thing that's always been my biggest gripe, as well as not playing small ball. I'm a huge believer in small ball. Hell, I made half of my batting career off of small ball because I was a slapper. There is nothing wrong with small ball. You're supposed to have productive outs, and ultimately you're supposed to be helping your team. If you're sacrificing yourself to get the runner over from second to third, who cares? Because that means you're going to have two more opportunities. You're going to have two other batters to try to get that run in. And that's always been my biggest gripe about this organization. And I think the other thing really is just, and I think during that time, this was when we were having the argument within our own network, as well as other people and some of our listeners, who was more clutch, Trout being the GOAT, Trout being clutch or not clutch, him hitting 105-mile-per-hour balls right at somebody for the third out. And I guess maybe to circle back to that, I think this is at a point in time where we didn't trust, or at least I personally did not trust Mike Trout. If we were tied 3-3 in the ninth inning, winning run is on third base and Mike Trout's up, I don't want Mike Trout up. I just don't, especially during that time.
Yeah, like that game in Miami. Remember at the Suite?
Oh, yeah,
Bottom of the ninth inning, had a chance.
I know. Whatever, old ass.
Jesus, Courtney's bitter.
I'm very bitter. But I think it's just one of those things, just within our lineup, up and down. And maybe it comes from coaching staff. I'm not too sure. We weren't having productive outs, and that, again, my biggest gripe. Don't just go out there swinging for the fences, because what is that going to do? It's one thing to hit the ball hard, and I guess maybe that's what some of our listeners are trying to argue. Well, he's hitting the ball hard. They could possibly make a mistake, or they could possibly make an error. And it's just like, okay, I mean, I guess I get that point, but if it's right at somebody in the air, I'd rather have you hit something hard on the ground, not in the air. And that's just me personally. But really, again, it was just, I think, playing down to our opponents, because there's no reason why we can't sweep the A's. There's no reason why we can't sweep the Nationals. And even KC, no reason why we can't sweep KC. So, and I know later on in the season, we'll probably touch on it when it does come to playoff time. Those are going to be the few games that we wish we could have won, because we're trying to scrape together half games or whole games, and those are going to be the ones that we would have had.
Absolutely, those are the ones you wish you could redo. So
yeah, on that too, the small ball, like how Courtney was saying, I was a pitcher years ago. I fucking hated bunting and all that stuff. It's mental as a pitcher in your head, right? You're like, frick, where's that guy at now? I got to hurry to the plate. Got to make sure they don't advance the runner again. You force the other team to make plays. You force them to play baseball at the end of the day, right? It's out of your hands, and the coach has to make decisions. Do I have corners in? Do I do infield in? Do I give that out up for this run here and all this stuff? And Nevin doesn't do that. He kind of just swing away. Something good will happen one time and everything, and it just doesn't happen for us. And like you guys have said, I've said the whole time. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's early in the season." I hated that, because when 162 rolls around and you're 3 games back, and you remember those 8 games that you freaking blew earlier, and I was at that Kansas City game that they blew by the 5 runs in the ninth inning. I was dying in there for Quijada. And that game, those are the games that stick with you. Like, we wouldn't be in this situation here, freaking out, wondering if we did the right thing with the organization keeping Trout and Ohtani and all these guys and signing Rendon and all that stuff. There'd be no questioning if you control the bleed. right? You have a chance to control the bleeding here and there. We just let it go. And the clutch situation now, Cody, I'll be honest with you. I was a big Trout guy, right? I'm for it. If you're gonna hit 105 miles per hour straight at somebody, I can't hit it. I can't do that. Period. I couldn't even hit a ball if I even tried. To be honest with you, I'm so impressed by that. Let alone the guy hits at 105 miles per hour. Sometimes balls fall in, right? Sometimes they don't. It's baseball, right? For us. The first half of the season, he had that World Baseball Classic hangover, and he had a long swing. And they used to say Gary Anderson's swing was long. Trout's swing was long, and he was never known for that, right? He's always known for quick hands to the bat, through the zone, all that stuff. And it just hurt to see. But I think the World Baseball Classic had a huge effect on this season overall, not only for the Angels, but for everybody. As you can see, certain guys doing certain things, people get hurt more easily. A lot of mechanics are just off for some guys. But the Angels wise, we just have nobody there helping us out during those series, like those games. I think the Nationals, I don't mind losing one game because if they have some good young pitching, right? They have Josiah Gray, they have the other guy from San Diego, can't think of his name right now.
Mackenzie Gore.
They have legit pitching there, right? Some guys you can shut down. You have good pitching beats good hitting any day. I don't mind losing those games. I mind losing the games where your bullpen gives up 5-6 runs and you blow this lead that you had, even though you had like a Matt Moore in that bullpen too, if you want to play a matchup, who has a 1 ERA at the time, the Kansas City series and all that stuff. But just managing this team has been a clusterfuck, right, for us here. And you have an owner who doesn't care. And then you have a GM who sounds like his hands are tied right away in the beginning of the season when he starts out. That's the Angel way so far.
So let me go over these couple series in May. I'll ask, I guess 2 questions I have for you guys, and then we'll try to wrap it up here for part 1, because I know we want to start condensing some of these episodes. So in May, we swept the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis, came back home, lost a series to the Rangers, lost a series to Houston. And those are another group of 6 games that you might look at. And, we played the Astros hard. We played good baseball against them. They just happened to be the better team for 2 out of those 3 games. And then we went to Ohio, as Todd likes to say, lost to Cleveland, 2-3. And then we split with Baltimore in Baltimore. And then we won the series against the Twins, and we swept the Red Sox at home. And that's the farthest that we're going to cover here. But I guess the first big question I have for you guys. So when you think back to the first half of the season, and I'll let you guys go to the All-Star break, because I know we're probably not going to get everyone who's on right now for part 2. So when you think back to the first half of this season, what is one positive you are going to take away? Since we love to be so negative here. Todd, what's one of the positives you're going to take away?
Well, definitely in those first 45 games, it was the fact that you had I'll just make it a real quick one. Sure. I really like the fact that the catching was saved. We all thought that the catching was going to be a disaster with Stassi being out. Ohapi appeared to, he was leading the team with home runs and RBIs before he went out in the Yankee series. So the emergence of Theis and the emergence of Wallach at the time, these guys were carrying the offense when guys like Trout were just continually behind on fastballs, and Ohtani wasn't exactly hot himself. The offense was trying to find itself, but you had 2 guys that were hitting at 300 or close to it from the catching situation, no matter who was pitching and who they wanted as catcher. I thought that was a huge positive in those first 45.
Courtney?
My heart. The kids. Wait, did we bring up Neto? I think we did within those.
We had Neto at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, he got there.
Yeah, even before Ohapi went down. I think our young guys stepped up, and that was really nice. It was nice seeing Neto out there. Again, before Ohapi went down, I honestly think he was about to be the leader for this team, which is, I don't want to say sad, because it's not sad for Ohapi. Like, it's good that he was going to step up into that role. It's sad that we have veterans like Captain America, Mike Trout, and Two-Fist Tony, and everybody else, like all these veterans on this team that don't know how to lead this team. But I think the kids did well. They continue to do well, foreshadowing. So yeah, the kid stepped up. I like it.
James.
Yeah, Courtney took mine. I really loved the emergence of Ohapi and Neto, especially Neto. Showed the leadership right away. Got hit by 7 or 11 pitches right away, and
Yeah, it was a record, right?
like I don't
Major
think
League-
yet for a rookie shortstop. It's like 21 by Eckstein in 2001.
Okay.
So he's got some time to get when he comes back. He'll have time to get hit by more pitches.
Hopefully not.
It's just weird because it was somehow he has magnetic whatever. I don't know, but he was just finding the ball, or the ball was finding him. But yeah, the emergence of Ohapi and Neto's leadership. I think one other positive. I don't know if maybe you all will think I'm crazy or not, but maybe Paramanazian bringing up players and
Ooh.
then players down.
Can we kick
And
James
then-
out?
Leave.
I thought that was going to happen already. Trading for Moustakis and Escobar, saying, hey, we're not afraid to go out and boosting this roster, boosting the offense. Somehow bringing in Jacob Webb, which was a spring training invitee, and he's been one of the best bullpen pieces. So I think Perry not being shy to improve the roster is one positive out of a handful, if you count on one hand of positives. So I think Perry Manazian bringing in guys and sending guys down could have treated Adele better, but he's up with the team now.
Rob?
I was going to say pretty much what Courtney said with the young guys coming up, and then I agree with James. I'm Perry not freaking out, and then even going to now, right? I don't think I'll be here for the second half of the show on this, but Mike Trout goes out hurt. How many other teams lost their star outfielder would go freak out and try to make a trade for it? And I think Perry did the right thing because you're not replacing Mike Trout from the past 10 years. You're replacing the 260 or 250 hitter right now, Mike Trout. And you have that in the guy, Mickey Moniak. Right now, he's actually probably even better, batting a lot better than Trout was, right? But I like that factor there. And my biggest thing for those first 45 games is Estevez establishing himself as a closer.
Darn it, you
And
took
Matt
mine.
Moore establishing himself as the setup man there. That's a 1-2 punch we've been looking for a long, long time. We were hoping to find that with Tepera and Loop. Didn't find it there. We were hoping that Quijada would be there. Wasn't happening for us. And then we found that bridge there. And then even to go a step further with Jaime Barria coming out as a long reliever. I don't know if necessarily if I like him as a starter. He does help fill spot starts here and there. But that's a guy who can eat 3-4 innings out of the pen almost every other day, or if not every day for a couple of days in a row before he needs days off. And sometimes, like we said, we're going to need that with this pitching staff, right? Get us through 4 innings, get us to 5 innings. We have Jaime Barria, we have guys to go to. That was impressive there, but yeah, it's the emergence of the young guys and everyone else just establishing themselves in this organization that they're not really leaders, right? I wouldn't call at the time the season started, would you call Neto a leader? Would you say Wallach would be up here as a leader and Theis be up here as a leader as well too? I wouldn't have said that at all. And I didn't think Estevez, I was a big guy against Estevez right after spring training. I thought the guy walked too many people, but proved me wrong. And Eden Crow, along with Eden Crow and Drury still, even though he got hurt, we won't talk about that. But that guy, so far, man, so good. But I just like the fact that we haven't freaked out completely yet the whole first half of the season. And looking at it, I don't think we're bad. We still have it. Yeah, we lost Mike Trout, but big whoop. You lost a 250 hitter, dime a dozen right now in the MLB.
Well, I won't give mine because I mean at this point just a broken record. You know, I was gonna say the young kids, but I mean I knew someone was gonna say that, and then nobody mentioned Estevez until Rob, and I was like, hey, everyone's gonna miss that one sick, and then Rob hit it, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I won't give mine. I mean it's same thing. Okay, so the last question I have for you guys. Keep it short because I'm sure this is going to be a long one. So try to keep it to a letter grade, and then try to give me less than like 50 words because it's a slippery slope answer. Give Phil Nevin a letter grade for the entire first half of the Angels season going to the All-Star break. I'll ask Dominic this too but I want everyone's opinion here. And I'm sure if Todd's on Sunday, I'll ask this again. But Todd, give Phil Nevin a letter grade right now going into the second half of the season.
Real quick, Alex Cobb was the last leader on this Halo club. He should still be here, but he's in San Francisco doing good.
Fair enough.
With that being said, I give him an F. He's failed on so many things with me. When I first thought, real quick, I thought it was Perry doing all that, but it's Phil's philosophy. You know, he's loving the not everyday pitcher, bullpen guy, resting guys, load management. I think he shit the bed. I'm so wanting him fired.
Courtney.
Well then, D minus, and the only reason why he gets a D is because he will actually get in an umpire's face. Like, because let's face it, we have had a couple bad calls. Sometimes it's just nice as a pitcher, as I'm sure Rob could probably say, it's just nice knowing that your coach has your back. I do feel like, Nevin has done that a few times. Has it been the most timely? Probably not. Like, he'll do it like 2 batters later for some odd reason, after the pitch was called. But he will get an umpire's face. But other than that, I mean, he's completely shit the bed. So I mean, I really don't have anything positive to say other than that. So there's that.
I agree with Courtney here, a D. But both Todd and Courtney made the same points I would have, just on philosophy. And then what saved him was those ejections, especially the one in San Diego, going all in. Man, it was a 1-year trial, of course, we all know. And right now he's pretty much failing. He's not above grade, of course, to pass. I question his decisions a lot. I know Todd does it all the time. I think we all do. The thing that I lost my train of thought, but I can't see him coming back. Even if they were going to make the playoffs, I didn't want him back. I'm a big Ron Washington person, and I'd rather have him managing, and hopefully that happens. But with Nevin, I feel like he doesn't make all the decisions. I think he's almost a puppet in a way for Perry and all the stats people, analytic people. So that's why I give him a D. But I thought he was going to be tougher. I thought he was going to show more fight and heart and, get on the players. But I haven't really seen that other from the slap on Suarez. I haven't seen it this year, so a D.
All right, Rob?
I dropped him from the class a while ago, man. He's going to get a letter grade. Guy's been freaking awful, right? Guy gets you can go ahead and bark. I do appreciate that it stands up for his players and all that stuff. That's about it. But if you want to do that, go get a barking dog from the freaking dugout. That's all you really need, a trash talker there. The guy just doesn't have it. Doesn't hold himself accountable for when he loses, doesn't accept responsibility, doesn't blame anybody else or blames everyone else, doesn't ever blame himself for poor decision making, for letting things get out of hand necessarily. And all these things are stuff that managers do. Managers manage players like this. Yeah, you have 2 superstars in your team, but there's always been a manager. Hell, Hank Aaron had a manager. Nolan Ryan had a manager. Why? Because they weren't perfect. They had to be told to do at times and be reeled in. This guy doesn't reel anybody in. He holds umpires accountable, but he's going to be called a Karen Jr. like Aaron Boone is by these umpires because they're tired of hearing the barking on this. You're barking at me and you're down by 5 runs. Get the fuck out of here. That's what they're going to. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Sorry, it's on the show. But anyways, if I was the umpire, I'd be like, you're down by 5. Shut up. If I got to be here, so do you. I'm not throwing you out of this game. That's what I would say, right? If I was this umpire, you had a chance a couple innings ago to bark at me, but it's over now. It's unsatisfactory. You had Benji Gill. I mean, I'm a big Benji Gill fan. The guy did wonders with Team Mexico there. And tell me right now, if you guys can, name me 5 top players on Team Mexico that are all-stars.
Randy
Rosarena. Yeah.
No, legit. Come on, that's BS. Like a Cuban. Give me a real one. Come on, guys. It's embarrassing. That's
Alex Verdugo.
Rowdy Tellez was not an all-star.
That was a ragtag team that he got going. So
he gets them the win because he rallies those guys, and that's what we need. You need a guy to, like you guys, Todd has said, when it has a closed-door meeting been held. Socha had way too many closed-door meetings at times, I thought. Like, to the point, like, hey, kind of got to let these guys play. We haven't had one. But
they did to celebrate Estevez. Okay.
Yeah, great. Freaking great.
You know what, real
Yeah.
quick on him, real quick, I'll just say the only thing that has to sum up for me his tenure here and why if we had a competent owner, they should have fired him when they heard him say it. I don't chase wins. That is the
Yeah,
dumbest
absolutely.
crap
Oh
I've
my
ever
God.
heard.
Yeah.
That's a no. Like your whole job as a manager is to win, or at least to build a winning culture. At the least, if you're not going to be the one to to force winning, great. If you don't care about winning, that's fine. But at that point, at least put the building blocks to build a winning culture. I give him a D.
Wow, winning.
Wow, winning. Yeah, I give him a D. A D for a dick, because that's what he is. He's not a winner. He just isn't. He isn't a guy who came from a long amount of winning as a player, right? He played in a lot of losing teams, played in a lot of subpar teams, and he wasn't a very above average player. He was a good player, high 200 hitter, would hit, 25 plus home runs a year. He would drive in 80 runs easily, at least when I watched him as a Padre. But yeah, so he hasn't been able to translate it. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he's going to get another season. And even if the Angels do, for some miracle, make the playoffs, I don't think he should get another tip of the cap. And the other thing that's unfortunate for him is the fact that he's not exactly proving to other teams that he has the ability to be a major league manager. Because sometimes you see these guys and you're like, oh, well, they just had an unfair shot, right? Not him. I think he's showing exactly who he is as a manager. He overthinks. He doesn't listen to his own gut. His own GM doesn't seem to like him much. His coaching staff doesn't seem to be happy to be there. Most of his players don't appear happy. And because of that, I give him a D. That's all I got on it. Todd, you want to close this out?
Yeah, I'll close it out. With one thing though, I really miss Socha's crew because I remember with his staff, I mean, you knew all the coaches, you liked all the coaches, and it's not the same. I mean, this one, it's like you could pick and choose. There's like one or two guys that you primarily know, and then the other guys, unless they screw up, you don't even know who Hasselman is over there at third base. I still don't know the first baseman's coach. I don't care to because he didn't do nothing. He's not been important all year. So there's just stuff like that. I just thought
Bring back Alfredo Griffin.
Exactly. Missed that. But anyway, thank you for choosing us as your podcast about the Angels for part 1. Part 2 will be again on Sunday. You'll probably have a different panel here as we're all making our time out for you to take care of this and talk about the first half of the baseball season. So, hang in there. Hopefully good things are to come. We're going to get into all the meat and potatoes about all the stuff that's transpired towards the second half of the first half and how we currently are resting right now. And we'll probably have a couple more games under our belt to talk about the start of the second half by the time we record our next time. So for Todd Fox and
Fernando
James.
And Courtney.
And Rob.
Catch you guys later.
We got a lot of baseball left to be played, and the season starts tonight.